Good morning, everybody. If you'd stand with me, I'm going to ask Clerk Strite to start us off in prayer.
Let's pray. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you we can come together this morning to deal with and consider the items before the commission for the county today. We ask your guidance and blessing on all that's said and done. We thank you for the rain and thank you that apparently it's not been too much. So as we go about this day, we just, again, ask your guidance and blessing on all that's said and done. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Clerk. If you remain standing, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'll call the meeting to order. And again, I welcome everybody this morning to the Hampshire County Commission meeting, Tuesday, June 10th, 2025. Our first item of business is the minutes. The commissioners get a digital copy of those to review ahead of time.
And there are two sets.
And there are, as clerk stated, there are two sets this time. We had a quick special meeting there the following Friday of our past meeting. So at this time, I'd entertain a motion to approve those or look at any corrections needed.
I'll make a motion that we approve we need to do this in two motions or one single motion, cover them both?
I think you can do that either way, Commissioner.
All right, I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes as submitted from the clerk for both meetings.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that the minutes from our previous two meetings be approved and accepted as presented. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passed. We will move on to the President's and Commissioners' reports. I will report on this past week with the Hampshire County, Central Hampshire PSD. I went to kind of a field trip with them to Green Spring, Springfield. With the recent flooding they had down there a couple weeks ago, much like some of the other parts of the county had this last night, there was some pretty serious damages down there in Green Spring to various electronic pieces of the one of the sewer stations there. So I went along with them, not only to look at that, but just to look at various operations down there. They do have flood insurance for that facility, but it does have quite a large deductible. I've spoken with our local representation at the state level informally about it. It's not on the agenda, but I would encourage all three commissioners to perhaps formally contact our state level folks to see if there is any emergency type funding with all the recent flooding. And I know other parts of the states had even more severe flooding than us, but there will be some extensive damage repair down there, and it is insured, but there's a large deductible on that. So if either commissioner would like to letter or phone call any of our state officials, I can give you the details on the financials and so forth, and let you speak with the PSD guys themselves. But anyway, just went down there and looked at that last week. Spent several hours going over some of that stuff. Several other things going on, but looks like a lot of it can be touched on in the agenda, so I won't take up our time going over it twice. And I'll pass the floor along to Commissioner Mance for his report.
Thank you, President Englinger. Given the fact that I think we're probably going to be doing a decent amount of talking later on in the agenda, I'm going to save my breath and the public's time and just reserve all comments for moving on down the agenda this afternoon or this morning for you guys.
Okay. Commissioner Brill, for your report.
Yeah, I don't really have much of a report either. President Eglinger, I have not had really any meetings since our prior meeting. I did attend the town hall meeting that Senator Thorne hosted about a week and a half ago. Pretty good attendance at that meeting, about 100 local community folks there. He spoke for about 2 hours regarding transmission lines, wind, and solar. And so it was good information he provided to the public. So, but that's everything else that I have, I think, will be covered under the agenda.
Okay, then. Thank you, gentlemen. We will, before we go to our 9:15 public hearing, since we are running slightly ahead of schedule at this time, Clerk, do you have any day-to-day items, housekeeping items that we can address?
Yeah, I have several things under the unscheduled items of business, one of them being a personnel matter, and that being the Planning Commission's recommendation for approval in regard to the hire for their new director, compliance officer. His name's Jared Hott, and he's present with us this morning. So, I believe this was sent to y'all.
Good morning, Jared. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
All right. So I am aware that the Planning Commission for some time has been advertising for this position and has went through all the proper channels to come up with this recommendation and request for approval of Mr. Jared Hott. President Ronkin, do you have any anything for the commission at this time?
Only comment is we're awfully glad to get him, and he starts Thursday.
All right. I like to see young Hampshire County folks wanting to stay in the county and work, so that's I'm glad to see that, Jared. Commissioners, do you have any questions, comments?
I'd just like to thank the Planning Commission for the work in getting this together. Thank you, Jared, for wanting to be a part of this. I appreciate all the effort you guys put into getting to this point. I'm going to be glad to have you.
Just like to echo that sentiment, say thank you for your interest in public service and doing this important task that's going to be laid at your feet in the coming weeks. Thank you very much and look forward to working with you.
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion that we approve the Planning Commission's recommendation of hiring Mr. Jared Hott as the new planning director.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that Mr. Jared Hott, as recommended by the Planning Commission, take on the position of the new Planning Office Compliance Officer. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passed. And welcome, Jared. Glad to have you.
Thank you.
Moving on to personnel, Sheriff's recommending Rachel Timbrook be deputy 911 director.
Commissioner Mance, do you have a copy of this? The memo?
I do. Clerk Straight got it over to me.
I'll make a motion that we approve the hiring of Rachel Timbrook as the new 911 director effective immediately, as recommended by the sheriff.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that the 911 director at the 911 center, that position appointed to Rachel Timbrook with the salary increase accordingly. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passed. Okay, we have a email memo from the Hampshire County Farmland Protection Board. It states that David Parker's term as Conservation District Representative for the Hampshire County Farmland Protection Board will be expiring June 30th, and he would like to renew for a second term, and they are in agreement with that.
I'll make a motion that we approve David Parker's term as Conservation District Representative for the Hampshire County Farmland Protection Board for a second term.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that the position on the Farmland Protection Board, known as the Conservation District Representative, would again be Mr. David Parker. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passed.
If you'd like me to, I can explain a few things about the next item.
Yes, go ahead, clerk.
Okay, we have a scheduled agenda item for a probate and solemn form. This is a probate fiduciary estate action, and I got ahead of myself because I'm trying to keep in mind all the Latin I know, which is the two terms I'll tell you about. There's two ways for someone to present a will for probate. One is ex parte, which means that you present it to the clerk who's acting under the auspices and authority of the county commission. the, every week or month rather, when you do the estate actions, part of the things you do is approve the actions that I've taken in the interim time. And that's one of them. I review the wills, myself, my deputy, or under my authority, review the wills, determine that they are appropriate and proper, and admit them to record, in which case they control the estate. The law requires that we only admit original wills with certain forms met. We have occasionally run into situations where the original can no longer be found for one reason or another. It may have been destroyed, it may have just been lost. Nonetheless, the law provides under Code 41, Chapter 41, Article 5, Section 5, that a will can be presented to probate in solemn form, meaning there's a hearing where all parties are notified ahead of time, it's scheduled, and the commission is sitting as county court in regard to all things probate, and you review the evidence and decide whether or not to admit the copy of the will rather than the original. If you agree to do that, then the copy stands as approved and becomes the, again, the document that controls the estate. So, with all that said, and trying not to say more than I know, Mr. Kevin Judy from Moorfield is representing the estate of John Dillinger Jr., who is no relation to the famed gunman he assured me years ago.
That would have been pretty cool then.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Good morning, you all.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
So essentially, I can second everything that the clerk just said, and basically the situation in this will is that Mr. Dillinger passed, and at the time he passed, he had a durable power of attorney executed in favor of his caretaker, which is a bit iffy because she wasn't a family member. What ended up happening in the final year of his life is that she took a lot of his finances, she sold a lot of his personal belongings, unbeknownst to his family, and then finally, in the days right before his death, she removed the original will from, we believe, his nightstand or something to that effect, and then took it with her. Since then, her durable power of attorney's been revoked. She actually did that herself, but we were unable to locate the original will. And so Will Keaton, an attorney in this area, was the one that drafted that 2019 will. We were able to get that from his records, and so that's sort of the petition we've presented today. The sort of the point of law here is every single potential beneficiary under the will had to be notified of this proceeding and given a chance to show up. And so I had to send them a document saying, look, here's what we're here to do today. We're going to submit this will into probate if you all don't have any objections. To my knowledge, none of those people are here today. And so I believe all of the elements are satisfied. Of course, granted, I don't know what they look like, so maybe one of them is here present today. And so we'll have to cross that bridge when we get there. But to my understanding, there's been no objections, and I've heard back from all of them except for the one that I was unable to locate. He had a disabled daughter that I was unable to figure out where she ended up. She's somewhere in Washington, we believe, but we don't even know if she's still living. And so anyway, we filed that petition, and we're hoping to sort of get that copy of the will that Will Keaton had drafted in 2019 submitted into probate as the sort of not the original, but standing instead of it. And so that's what I'm here today for. So if you all have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Mr. Judy, I just had a couple questions. I think I know the answer. Has there been any evidence presented to you that the will was otherwise revoked before it went missing?
To my knowledge, no. I haven't had any evidence that suggests that.
Okay. And has there been any evidence of a substitute will being presented in any way, any allusions to it that you've come across?
No, and so that was actually kind of odd because I would have assumed if somebody was going to take the original will that they would have had some sort of plan, you know, because it seems like if there's no obvious reason why they would have taken it, there would have been some sort of will that they would have proffered. But to my knowledge, Barbara Rothfuss, the caretaker, did not come up with another will. She did apparently have John Dillinger's ear in the final months of his life, and she was basically very persuasive, and so we assumed that she would have proffered one just because we thought, you know, he was kind of demented by it in his final days, and that we figured maybe she would have gotten him to sign something, but nothing's been brought to my attention. Nothing's been brought to the attention of this committee, to my understanding. None of the heirs to John Dillinger have reached out to me and said that they've heard anything otherwise. And so, to my knowledge, this was just an odd instance where this woman took the original will and then that was it. You know, I haven't, other than the fact that she emptied a couple bank accounts and sold a tractor, I haven't seen any other evidence that the estate's been messed with or that another will come to light.
Sounds good. Thank you. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
I don't have any other questions.
Commissioner Brill, you have any?
No, sir. No.
And sir, if you would just please state again what your request of the commission is today.
Absolutely. So essentially it would be to grant my petition to probate this last will and testament of John A. Dillinger Sr. in solemn form, which essentially is that you all approve the copy of the will provided by Will Keaton from 2019, and we allow the county clerk to submit that into probate.
Okay, thank you.
President Eglinger, I'm prepared to move that the commission admit the presented will in solemn form as requested.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Mance. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we grant the petition and allow the clerk to work through the procedure for probate in solemn form as requested here to the commission this morning. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passed.
Thanks so much, you all.
Thank you.
And then we'll be in touch if you need anything from me.
Ms. Helms will take care of you right now. And gentlemen, I would point out and congratulate you. You're one of the very few commissions in the state apparently that has done this process, and you've done it about 3 times in my recollection. So it comes up on the clerk's listserv pretty often as to what is this and why are they coming and asking this and how do you do it. And it was explained to me by Judge Parsons years ago, and it's been useful on occasion. So thank you for your help.
I appreciate you helping us work through it there, clerk.
And clerk, thanks for taking the time to explain it not only to us but to the public. I think it's good for everybody to kind of understand how this process works and why we have these checks.
Thank you. You're welcome. And I enjoy doing it. The probate process is kind of convoluted at times, and everyone is, whenever someone's in the position needing to enter the probate process, they get a lot of advice from uninformed sources, and we really appreciate the opportunity to get to explain to people when we get the chance. So, thank you.
Okay, then we will move on to our 9:30 agenda item, which is the discussion of county alliances regarding proposed transmission lines. Commissioner Mance, you had asked that be on the agenda. I think this is probably the second time or third time we've attempted to get that discussion out there. So I'll lean you the floor here to start that discussion.
Much appreciated, President Eglinger. Gentlemen, I think that this conversation could be pretty easy, especially now that the Commission has adopted an official position in relation to the regional energy transmission projects, Marl and the Valley Link project. The nature of this request and bringing it before the Commission was really to just outline a discussion or a concept and hopefully draw a way forward. And the concept would be that if we have a position as a county commission, and we also understand that there are other surrounding local governments that have similar, if not identical, positions to ours, it would make sense for us to reach out and to explore what a multi-jurisdictional alignment and cooperation could look like. So really, I don't have a necessarily full idea of how this could work, but what I propose is something along the lines of us decide whether or not we do want to work with other local governments that are of similar position in relationship to these projects. And then if we decide that we do, we maybe discuss one, maybe two of us with a kind of a game plan for how we would approach these other local governments, and then what we would ask, or even enter into a discussion with them as to figure out whether or not they would be interested in entering into an alignment with us in relationship to these projects. I don't think that we need to iron every detail out, but if we could, if we have common ground to say, yes, this is something that we'd like to explore, I think we could map out a game plan for our next steps today.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. I'll say there's obviously other local governments, whether they be counties or towns here in the Eastern Panhandle and Potomac Highlands that do have the same or similar position. Evidently, reading the paper and social media, there is obviously other local governments that while maybe not as formally as we have, or some that have as well formally as we have stated their opposition, and with us stating our opposition, I would say that we should make an effort to at least contact them and see what next steps they had in mind or didn't have in mind. But anyway, my suggestion would be a formal letter drafted from the Hampshire County Commission to neighboring county commissions and neighboring towns, and any other government entities or organizations that you gentlemen felt appropriate, and stating what we're trying to do here. That would be my suggestion as a start. Commissioner Brill?
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. And just to add a little bit more to this, I actually did have a conversation last week with Commissioner Staggs from Mineral County. It's my understanding that they moved their meeting to tomorrow due to the Commissioners Convention. But they, I believe, are planning to discuss. They had seen our resolution, and I think that the one in Preston County as well. So there is obviously some conversations, I think, going to be had there in that county. In addition, I'm sure most everyone has seen the correspondence from Delegate Hillenbrand and his position after doing some research on the project. So I would agree. I would be in favor of coming up with some kind of formal letter or any other action that you gentlemen might think be appropriate to share with other counties, municipalities, towns, so on and so forth, just to see what kind of collaborative effort we can maybe put together.
Well, gentlemen, I appreciate that. I volunteer to draft a letter to adjoining local governments or affected local governments in this request. Now, I'm happy to provide that to you guys for adoption or for input, and then we can formalize and send it out. I further recommend that we formally authorize one or both of you to reach out on the Commission's behalf as well, because sometimes a phone call can go further than a letter. That way, just kind of have more arrows in the quiver, as it were. But I'm happy to draft the letter, and also would support an authorization for you guys to reach out individually if that's what we decide as a commission.
Yeah, I would be fine with that, again, we can authorize any of the three of us to do that, and I appreciate the offer to write the letter. Commissioners, that was my next question: is who wanted to draft such letter? And in summary, that to make sure I understand, this would be an invitation to an alliance regarding the proposed transmission lines and our opposition to that. Again, I'm fine with the offer of Commissioner Mance to draft a letter for approval, and if either commissioner wants to volunteer to be the point person for phone calls or emails on that we can approve that as well.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm good with the letter, and I'm happy to be that point person if need be, to reach out, make phone calls, contacts, whatever we can do, whatever I can do to be appropriate from the commission. So I'll be happy to do that.
All right. Does either commissioner want to offer that in the form of a motion?
I'll take a stab at it. So I move that the Hampshire County Commission draft and send to adjoining and affected local governments in relation to the regional transmission projects a letter inviting intergovernmental cooperation. And I further move that the commission authorize Commissioner Brian Brill to reach out and interact with adjoining local governments on the commission's behalf in relation to the same.
Second.
Okay, I think that covers it, gentlemen. We have a motion and a second on the floor for the matter we've just discussed. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passed. Clerk, we are a good bit ahead of schedule. If you got some unscheduled housekeeping items, we'll continue to take a look at some of those.
I do. Assessor presented exonerations. Logan, I may not have scanned those to you. I'm sorry. They showed up on my desk, and I think I might have missed them.
No problem.
Make a motion that we approve the exonerations as submitted by the assessor.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor of the exonerations presented by the assessor, and there was 3 of them for a total of $498 just for Commissioner Mance, since he doesn't have a copy. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Abstain.
Okay. Motion passed. Commissioner Mance abstained. He doesn't have the materials in front of him.
That's my fault. I'm sorry about that. So you recall we had the Board of Equalization review in February, reviewing the tax books presented by the assessor and the assessments for the upcoming tax year, which will actually was for last tax year, but the mailings will be sent out, the billings will be sent out 15th of July. So these personal property and real estate books have a back page where the commission signs off on them. There's a copy in the clerk's office, a copy in the assessor's office, and a copy in the sheriff's office, treasurer's office. So, again, those have been approved, formally approved, but I have the signature pages for each of those books for you guys to sign. So it's the president and the two commissioners that are signing on this, the 10th day of June, 2025. You may recall Commissioner Brill wasn't part of the commission at that time, but this was the first year we had Board of Equalization review where there were no challenges to the assessor's assessments.
Signing those, or?
I think so, yes.
Please.
I'll make a motion that we authorize the commissioners to sign the documents necessary to be made available to the public. Is that correct?
Certify the books, yes.
Certify the books. Okay.
Second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded that the certification of the books for the Hampshire County Assessor be approved. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passed. And I do appreciate our current assessor and our past assessor working with the public, and when it is Board of Equalization time, our county's been fortunate to have assessors that really work with the public to try to work that out prior to a commission decision. So makes our job easy, but I'm glad that we have assessors that can do that. Not all counties have that.
It's a big commitment on anybody's part all the way around. So don't leave without signing those. I want your wet ink where I can.
Oh, you want to go ahead and?
Well, we can do it later. It doesn't matter. You've approved it, so we can take care of it.
Well, we're running ahead of schedule, so we'll take the time to sign them right now.
Okay.
Clerk, if that's all right with you.
Always best, I reckon.
I'll let you use mine.
Mr. President, I have one more thing here. The CDBG had, Region 8 had sent down a change order form in regard to the health facility building. This would be the revision that was done to allow for additional work on the site on Jersey Mountain for the mobile unit. And the change order amounts to $21,467. There's about 15 pages of documentation, but we only need a signature on the first page where I have it marked here. So I'll present that to you as well.
Okay, and gentlemen, I'll expand on that a little bit. I have been in conversations with the health department on this, and as you know, we had this challenge back a couple months ago. The grant did step up and cover the additional cost then. Again, another additional cost, which the grant has stepped up and covered. As I had repeated that we didn't feel that the county was in any way responsible for the decisions leading up to what needed to happen at that site. So again, it's a $21,467 that the grant for that building, there is funds in to cover that. So just some extra details there for you gentlemen on this document.
Just so I'm clear too, just basically what you're saying is that those funds are coming from the grant, additional grant funds, not
Yeah,
county funds.
it's,
Okay.
yeah, made for additional, yeah, it was additional funding. I have a grant amendment also that goes with that.
Okay, and the clerk just handed me the grant amendment document itself, which lists the amount. Clerk, there's a, oh, okay, I see now.
Yeah, they're obscure.
Okay, that was a, I was gonna say, this document's got a lot larger number, but then I see it's broken down for the $21,467 funds obligated by this action.
I'll make a motion that we authorize President Eglinger to sign the grant amendment number 4
And change order form.
and the change order form as it relates to the request for the changes to the improvements being made at the Hampshire County Health Department facility.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded for the grant amendment number 4 and the change order form involving the health department facility as explained. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passed. Right here. Clerk, I just want to make sure I don't mess it up here. one. Okay, next on the agenda, back to the regular upper part of the agenda there. Discussion of Development Authority revolving loan fund. And Commissioner Mance, I'll open the floor to you. You sit on that board, and you had asked that we put this on the agenda.
Much appreciated, President Englinger. Essentially, I was at the Hampshire County Development Authority meeting, 2 months ago, JT, when the request for funds came from the Hampshire County Parks and Rec to the Hampshire County Development Authority to submit essentially for a loan from the fund that was used by the Hampshire County Development Authority as a revolving loan fund for infrastructure development within the county. Something that jumped out to me, we're moving under the assumption that when the Hampshire County Commission gave those funds down to the Hampshire County Development Authority, it did so with the restraints of use these funds as revolving loan funds for infrastructure development. We, as the Hampshire County Commission, would be the enforcing entity in that. But I think that within that, too, it's also within our purview to not enforce all of the restrictions that, would be on those funds. An idea that I think that we should talk about and discuss is removing the restrictions that the funds be used for revolving loan funds, and essentially just remove all restrictions except that the funds be used for infrastructure development. What that would do is that would enable the Hampshire County Development Authority to just use its good judgment in whatever it wants to do with the funds within the realm of infrastructure development. If it wanted to, run fiber into the business park, for its own projects, it could. If it wanted to use the funds as a match for a larger economic development or a larger infrastructure grant application, it could. I think that because it's in our power, we should at least entertain the idea of, restrict or lessening the restrictions on the fund so that the development authority can use them as best as they see fit, and not be constrained by, hey, you have to use it as a revolving loan for a third party. JT, I think you and I talked about it briefly, but that's pretty much, what I had in mind, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. As we also discuss it as a commission.
Yeah, go ahead, JT.
So that you muted, JT.
No.
We don't have any sound on JT.
Yes.
We got you.
Sounds like we got you.
Okay. No, look, and I appreciate that. I have done a lot of research on this. In fact, I went back through the last 25 years of notes from or minutes from the Development Authority meetings, and it appears that there was no, at least in the last 25 years, there was no direction from the county commission. I can go back to January of 2001, where it talks about there being a revolving loan fund, and the
Well, gentlemen, since I've been here, little over or around close to 8 years now, I would agree with the discussion we've heard thus far. Is that I think the intentions of the money is to jumpstart infrastructure projects, and I agree that we could clarify and reduce the restrictions there. Definitely agree on that issue, just to simplify and make it more available for the Development Authority to use those funds. I would say my only the only thing I would say that they couldn't be used for is I don't think they were ever intended to facilitate, like, I'll call it intergovernment workings, such as salaries or office furniture or et cetera, et cetera. I think you guys understand what I'm saying there. I think the only stipulation I would want as one commissioner to put on those funds is that they are used to, as their taxpayer funds, basically out of the general commission fund, is that they're used by the Development Authority for what the Development Authority is charged to do for the county, and that's, facilitate development, whether that be through Parks and Recs, or even a smaller entity than that, or whether it's a huge water project or sewer project, et cetera. I think I could be very flexible on that. And in the past, the Development Authority has always come to the commission when they are about to spend or put that money out anyway. So, with that being part of the requirement, I definitely agree we should give the Development Authority the authority to use that money on a wider array of projects, with the exception that I don't think it should ever be used for just salary enhancement and that sort of thing. I think that should be something that comes from the funding they would keep within their entity. Commissioner Brill, you have anything to speak on the subject?
I mean, I would concur. I obviously have full faith in Development Authority to be able to distribute these funds accordingly, as you allude to, with obviously certain exceptions. And I mean, it sounds like as far as the rate issue goes, that's something the Development Authority Board is going to have to make a decision on, decide what they feel and deem is appropriate to be a low rate. But I think this could be a great thing. Public made aware of the fact that there are these opportunities to utilize these funds to generate infrastructure projects. I think it'd be a big boon for small business and large business alike in the county. So yeah, I'm in agreement with pretty much what both the other two commissioners have said.
So, JT, would you want to draft a proposal for clarification to the commissioners on how these funds should be used? Just so we didn't obviously have anything on record that really stated that. It wouldn't have to be an involved document, but something that just clears that up.
That would be nice. I went through 25 years of minutes in the last week, and that would be nice to have something like that. And I would like to say this for the record for anybody who's listening who maybe hasn't attended, and we try really hard to get infrastructure partners to come to these meetings, and we give an update on what's happening in the county, and at the end of the meeting, each partner we say, what's your ask? What's something that what do you
Okay, so would you agree then to work with the commissioners to start a drafted document? Again, like I said, I think it can be pretty simple and straightforward, but that way we'll have something on record for the future.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
John Todd, thank you for your time in this project and for going through 20 years of minutes. That's no easy feat.
No.
Oh, I enjoyed the reading. I learned a lot, actually.
Okay, then, Commissioners, we will move on to our 10 a.m. agenda item, and that would be Planning Commission recommendation of adoption of 2022 West Virginia Building Code. And I see we have some Planning Commission members here, so if you'd like to come on up, Rolf,
Drag up.
and the new Mr. Jared Hott gets to come to the podium too.
Sir.
Commissioner Mance, I sent you an email this morning. Nothing's changed. We had our special, okay, all right, good. What you have before you is ordinance number Papa Charlie 25-2, which is an ordinance adopting the West Virginia State Building Code as the minimum building standards for Hampshire County, West Virginia. It is a short document. This brings our county up to current building code. If you notice on the front page, there are a long list of building codes there, 2018 International Building Code with stated exceptions, and it just goes further on. Gentlemen, we're actually been following 2018, even though officially we've been at the 2015, but there's been several developments over the past 6 months, 9 months where, for example, First Energy is requiring in the county before a hookup that they have an external cutoff switch. That is in the 2018 code. It is not in the 2015 code, but we have been following the 2018 code. Why am I telling you this? I'm just stating it for the fact that we have actually been following some of this already at this time. Last Wednesday, I talked to the head of the fire marshal's office down in Charleston, and she recommends that this gets approved without any delay. And my recommendation to the board after having our meeting last night, where the Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend the same, which is to sign this and enact it today. One thing that we are going to do is we are going to have or schedule a public hearing. It will be an informational hearing probably in the next 30 to 40 days that will allow contractors in the county, any public that's interested in hearing about these changes, we will go through it with them. We are going to invite the state fire marshal's office to also come to that meeting. That way, any questions that a contractor might have, we will be able to answer. This, I attached our outside legal opinion on page 3. You'll see highlighted the only thing that I wanted to really emphasize. This does not require a public hearing. So this adoption can be done today without any issue.
Okay, gentlemen, do you have any comments or further questions for Mr. Ronkin or Mr. Hott?
My only comment is actually for us as a commission. Our ordinance procedures that we've been trying to follow allow for, a 30-day period in which it's reviewed and accessible to the public. Statutorily, it's not required here. In this ordinance, through its adoption today, really just make sure that our T's are crossed and our I's are dotted behind the scenes for something that we're already doing in the county. So there's no real palpable change for the public, or at least minimal, and it just brings us up to what our statutory requirements are. So it's for that reason that I am in support of adopting it today, and then also that's the way it gets on the books, and our new planning officer can get to work on something that's adopted. So.
Yes, I'll just further that as I did want to explain to the public that the document, very similar to what our current planning office does. And again, Mr. Ronkin has offered that the Planning Commission have a meeting to the public to explain any questions, but again, more of just a mandatory update if we want to continue a planning ordinance in our county, that this would just be an update that's required for us to operate. So just want to make that clarification, and I would be okay with a approval today as well.
I'll just add, thank you to the Planning Commission for the time, effort, work put into getting this to us in this timely manner. And the only recommendation I would have is, if I'm certainly in favor of the informational meeting, but it may also serve as an opportunity to do an informational hearing and welcome to Mr. Hott if some of the contractors wanted to introduce themselves to him, get to know him. I'm certainly sure he would be happy to be available and be there to meet some folks, if nothing else. I know you're going to be brand new, but a good opportunity for you to maybe get some folks together if folks would come out. So, yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve and accept the ordinance as submitted to us and recommended by the Planning Commission, the updated adopting the West Virginia State Building Code as the minimum building standards for Hampshire County as presented.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded for the proposed ordinance recommended by the Building Commission to be adopted today, June 10th, 2025, by the Commission. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passed. And I want to thank the Planning Commission and Commissioner Mance for going through the details of getting this done. Appreciate that. Anything else, gentlemen?
I'm on your agenda for the next item.
Oh, you're next too? Rolf, I hadn't looked that far ahead.
It's an easy one,
Okay.
if you want to do it.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and move along to that, and that is the Augusta Volunteer Rescue Squad Building addition request. And it looks like I have a
So why this is in front of you is that the county obviously does not charge other county entities for anything dealing with planning or building permits and that. However, since they are going to be putting a building on county commission property, there is a requirement for you to approve that. So this document, they put it together. There is a site map that reflects what they're getting rid of on the property in order to put this building. and the costs associated with that.
So the little storage building there
Yeah,
to
they're-
to the east of the main building, they're wanting to replace with a newer, bigger.
Commissioner Mance, I believe you have this.
Yeah, I've got it. I've reviewed it.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
So again, just for the public's awareness, that they do go through the building permit process. There's not a charge though, but the building
Yes.
permit process still applies. I've had that question before, so I just wanted to make that clarification.
Yes, they do. And there is inspections.
Correct, yes. And like I said, I have had that question posed to me before, so I just wanted to clarify that they do go through all the process, just not the charge to ourselves.
Correct.
So, gentlemen, would I hear a motion to allow for the Augusta Volunteer Rescue Squad to start their building requests there?
So moved.
So moved.
Commissioner Mance, I'll take that as a second because Commissioner Brill had already made the motion. Obviously, you didn't hear him, but so I'll go with a motion from Commissioner Brill and a second from Commissioner Mance on the addition request for the Volunteer Rescue Squad. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passed.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yep, thank you. Clerk, do you have anything else we can address as we're about 10, 15 minutes ahead of schedule here?
Everything else I have is scheduled with the exception of invoices.
Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and move on then for our 10:25 appointment with Chief Hamrick's here to discuss the medical director agreement update between Dr. Bess and the commission. And then before you start there, Chief, I'll just, as I sit on this board, I'll explain to the commissioners that we are required to have a medical director for the county, which he deals with both our county ambulance and our volunteer ambulances, and is responsible, well, there's 3 pages of things here, but in summary, you know, is responsible for keeping us in check on what we do medically for the public concerning emergency services. So I will hand the floor over to Chief Hamrick.
Yeah, so as President Eglinger said, the medical director basically does QA reviews, major incidents that we run, handpicks some of the incidents, reports, and just reviews them, lets us know how we can do better. If someone needs to be reprimanded due to a type of malpractice or something like that, then he would step in and be involved. This is basically just a document to update the previous document because there's a volunteer company in the county that needs to renew their licensure. This is a requirement to have an up-to-date agreement with the medical director for them to update their licensure. And I believe our last one was on file from 2020. I'm not sure how many years ago the last one was. So I know he's due for a renew on his contract. So that's basically all we're doing here.
You gentlemen had a chance to look this over. I know it was out on the email. And I will add that I've emailed and talked with Dr. Bess, and he had no further comment up to this time as to any changes needed or any problems with the current contract. And as Chief Hamrick stated, it's simply updated the dates on the current contract.
Make a motion that we approve the agreement between the county and Dr. Bess to serve as a medical director as stated, and authorize President Eglinger to sign accordingly.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second for the medical director agreement to be updated for the Hampshire County Commission, and Dr. Bess serving in that role. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passed.
Excuse me, Darren, will you be seeing Dr. Bess anytime in the rear?
I will contact him and see when I can get him to come by.
Yeah, whenever you have a next meeting or whatever.
He says his schedule's pretty open now.
If you get the original back to me after that.
Yep, will do.
There's the original with my signature, Chief. And we'll go ahead and open the floor there, Chief, for your HCSA HSEM Director Hamrick with report and line item budget revision.
So yeah, I wanted to give the public and the commission an update on how things have gone since I took over February 1st financially, most importantly. When I took over February 1st, we were facing an anticipated payroll deficit of $813,000 just to complete the fiscal year. Early February, we presented a request to the board seeking approval to restructure the organization and implement a revised staffing schedule. Through these adjustments, we reduced the projected need to a more conservative $310,000 request, of which was granted from the commission to finish the fiscal year up until July 1st for payroll for HCSA. Please report, as of today, we've only utilized $140,000 of that money. We do expect for the next 2 pays in June that we will utilize, as we have very little fee income. This time of year, most of the time, everyone that's going to pay their fee has already paid their fee, with the new fees going out July 15th. So we will utilize, but we will be about $100,000 under the projection. Around $210,000 is what we'll utilize up until July 1st. Representing over a $600,000 saving compared to the original forecast when I took over. So that's over $500,000 of finances from the general fund that we were expecting to have to spend on payroll. We'll still need to utilize the remaining funds through July to support payroll. As I said, we do not see much of a fee income until about mid-August. And then in our no fee account, following an internal audit, we were able to identify about $100,000 in missing billing reports that were not being automatically submitted to MCA for payment. I went through and found the invoices that were not getting sent in. They were able to update them, bill the insurance companies, and get the money to us. They have since been corrected, and we are currently receiving some back pay from that. In addition, we resolved a long-standing issue with our Medicaid billing account, which allowed us to submit 18 months of retroactive claims, resulting in additional $130,000 in recovering revenue. To date, about 50 to 60% of these funds have been deposited into the no-fee account. We expect to have about $100,000 buffer moving into the next year that we can also utilize for the payroll shortage if we need it in the month of July. But if not, that can go towards some other equipment that may be needed in the future. With this being said, I know a lot of the scuttle has been that Springfield Station has not been staffed overnight 24/7. Since I had taken over, we do have a tentative plan to start staffing that 24/7 beginning July 3rd. This is critical due to the onset of water season and the fact that Springfield's population nearly doubles during the summer months with the influx of seasonal residents and visitors. We have already hired the needed personnel. It was 8 additional personnel to staff all 3 stations by the targeted date. We actually had a lot with restructuring and the new culture that has been brought into HCSA. We have been getting several applications a week of people that want to come work. We are fully staffed. We're currently precepting 16 part-time and full-time employees to get them up to the standard to be able to work alone on our ambulances. So we have basically implemented a hiring freeze at that point because we have all the staffing that we currently need to fulfill staffing all 3 stations, and we have a wait list of applications for both paramedics and EMTs that would like to come work for us. So that's great news. Before, there were several months that went by before we got a single paramedic application, and we had very few EMT applications. So we're going definitely in the right direction there. To support this, we have the necessary funds available in the no-fee account once the $310,000 that was allocated to us is exhausted towards the end of July. So we don't foresee needing to come forward as we originally thought we were going to have to come forward and ask for a loan per se to get us through payroll through July until the new fee implementation goes into effect and then we can pay that money back. But I don't believe we're going to need to do that, just utilizing the $310,000 and the $100,000 buffer that we have. So financially, things are looking up. Culturally, things are looking up, and we are moving in a very good direction, I believe. If you guys have any questions for me regarding HCSA before I move into requested purchases.
Okay, thank you, Chief, for the update. A lot of positives there, and I certainly appreciate your efforts coming in to a difficult situation. So again, applaud your efforts and your staff there for having us in a better situation at this point than what we anticipated. Commissioners, do you have any further questions or comments for Chief Hamrick before we go into the other requests that he has?
I would just echo those sentiments from President Egger. Thank you to you and your team for all that you've done. I think it's important that the community be aware of the work effort you guys have put in, and we're very appreciative to all that, so thank you.
Yeah, it has for sure been a team effort. I have great support from my support employees, my assistant chief and the captain and the lieutenants the whole way down. A lot of these ideas that we've implemented were their ideas from the get-go, and I just supported them and worked to have an implementation model to where we could get all of this off the floor and moving, and it's worked great. I mean, we have a lot of smart people that work for us, and that's why everyone's looking to come work for Hampshire County, and we're becoming a staple in the community and in the state, even for our EMS roles. So we're definitely growing in the right direction.
Just really wanted to quickly echo, we're probably all saying the same thing. Thank you to the whole team for your dedication in getting us moving in this direction. Patient outcome is the end state that we're all working towards, the health and safety of our citizens. You all focusing and making changes in fiscal responsibility and in cultural responsibility within the organization have downstream positive health outcomes for our citizens, and thank you for seeing that and working towards that end state. I'll ask you to continue the efforts that I know that you have been making in viewing a full county system and integrating in and working with our volunteers. Thank you for the work that you've been doing on that front. I'll just ask you to keep up the good work, and let us know if you need additional help, if you run into additional snags as you move through the rest of this transition.
And I would like to say, I think that is, you touched a point there, our biggest accomplishment is the unity that we have created with the volunteer system. We truly work as a single front now, working together on calls and realizing who needs to be dispatched for what type of incident. and just really working together. Our medics work great with our volunteer crews. We try to utilize and let them transport every possible patient they can because they really depend on that funding. We're not out to take their transports in any type of way. We want to, support them every way we can. It would be a huge financial impact if we had to replace any of the three volunteer companies. We really appreciate what the volunteers do for this county, and we're here to support them. So, moving on, this touches on Springfield. We had known that we were going to have to purchase a little bit of equipment to staff the Springfield station 24/7. We have actually been sitting on an ambulance and the equipment for about 2 years at the 911 center. We would like to finally make the request to purchase it. This was something that was planned in this current fiscal year. It was approved by the HCSA board once we got some of the back pay from the Medicaid money that we would like to go ahead and move forward with the purchase. We need another LifePak monitoring device and a Lucas CPR device for the Springfield station. Those cost around $60,000 to $70,000 new. We were able to get a used ambulance has about 120,000 miles on it, 2008 model, only 20,000 miles on a new engine, that already has a LifePak and a Lucas CPR device for the price of $50,000. So that's $20,000 less than buying new, and it comes with basically a free 4-wheel drive ambulance, which would be great to have in the Springfield area because right now we only have a 2-wheel drive ambulance down there. And for instances like last night, we had a call in the Springfield area on Arnold Stickley Road, a lot of mud and mess, and all we had was a 2-wheel drive ambulance, which kind of extended our response time to get that individual that was in need of our work. So this will help us expedite services in poor weather, and it's really a needed update to the fleet as well as the updated equipment. So I don't know if this needs to be voted on because it was kind of already in our budget for this fiscal year and it was approved by our board, but I wanted to at least bring it to the attention, and you guys can decide if you need to vote on it or not, to allocate the $50,000 that we have in our no-fee account. We already have the fees. We're not asking for any money from the general fund or anything of that nature.
Chief, I had a question. In your funding source clause under your justification for purpose or purchase in the documentation you provided us, you said that you received an unexpected $200,000 in funding from March 15th to May 15th. Can you tell me a little bit about where that comes? Probably not going to have any impact on, my support for this purchase, but I'm just interested in, where the unexpected funds dropped from.
Yeah, so that was the audit that I was speaking of that I did with the MCA billing, and the over $100,000 was $150,000 from Medicaid and another $100,000. So it was over $200,000 that was not expected income because that money was kind of, not known that it was going to be inputted, and then also the Medicaid money was over 18 months to 2 years, that account was not properly set up and needed to be restructured and re-signed by the sheriff and the Treasury Department. So that was not money that we had budgeted to receive because we didn't know it was there and available for us until we did that audit. So that was the money that we got that we didn't expect to get is what that was about.
Well, cheers to you guys for setting up and following through with that audit. That is outstanding to hear.
Thank you.
So just to summarize, Chief, you are requesting, and again, you explained it's in your budget, but historically for large purchases, the HCSA has come before the commission, so I wouldn't see why we couldn't go ahead and approve it, but I do appreciate you pointing out this purchase, but again, it's a $50,000 for a used ambulance, which includes the LifePak that we need for Springfield.
Yep.
Correct. So.
Yep. And the Lucas device.
And the Lucas device, which in turn would be over $60,000 by itself. without an
Correct.
ambulance.
Yep, correct.
So I would say that's a wise purchase, gentlemen. Again, we need those tools, plus it provides us with a four-wheel drive ambulance.
If we were to purchase a new four-wheel drive Type 1 ambulance such as this and a new Life Pack Lucas, we would be at close to $500,000. So this is about 1/10 of the cost of what new equipment would have been.
Yeah, I agree, and I applaud you for seeking that out, finding that. That sounds like a very good deal, going to be very good for the community in Springfield. So I will make the motion that we approve the HCESA to purchase the ambulance, $50,000 ambulance that also includes all of the devices that have been mentioned.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded for the $50,000 ambulance and accessories requested by Chief Hamrick. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you all.
Aye.
Motion passed.
And then our last order of business is for the Emergency Management Department. With this being the last meeting before invoices have to go in for the final fiscal year, right now we are currently $51,000 under budget. We have a fairly small budget of $177,000 per year for our Emergency Management Department, so that is a pretty significant amount to be under. Some of it's some payroll and other is some training money that we did not utilize. We were planning on sending, I don't know how much you guys know about our drone program in this county. So we utilize drones to get aerial views for search and rescue, for recon for wildland fires, for recon for hazmat, and most importantly, recon for swift water incidents. So we can put a drone in the air and we can go and do a search using thermal capabilities or color capabilities. We can do an aerial grid search just utilizing the drones in automatic mode. Most of the time we can get to a patient before a boat or anything else can get to them, and kind of dictate the safest route to get to the patient. As well as wildland fires, we can get to the head of the fire and see what type of exposure issues we have, and we can save hundreds of thousands of dollars on incidents, being able to know what houses to get to first to A, evacuate for life safety, and B, to stop the fire ahead of time. And the hazmat stance, it is helpful to get down so we're not sending a live person down to recon to see what types of dangers there are in the hazmat world. So drones are utilized very significantly. That brings me back to the budget side of things. We were planning on sending several people to a pilot program for FAA. You have to be FAA 107 certified to operate the drones. So we were planning to pay to send people. The state ended up coming out with a class that we're able to send 4 to 5 more individuals in July to get certified by the FAA, which we already have people signed up for. So that saved us some money in the budget. So what I'm looking to do is get a second drone for the EM department. Now, the Sheriff's Department does have 2 drones as well. They utilize those more for search and rescue and their types of missions. So sometimes it's tough to get, if the Sheriff's Department doesn't have that crew on at the given time that we need to do a search and rescue or something like that, we want to put 2 drones in the air at any given time. So we would like to get a second drone for our EM department, reallocating some funds in our budget, which would still put us under budget by about $30,000 to finish out the year. So about 20% under budget if we were given the opportunity to purchase this second drone. Our current drone also needs to go out for some repairs, which is going to put it down for about 3 weeks. So we would like to have something to use in that interim. We've been holding off the sensor repairs until we got a second drone. So that's what we're asking to reallocate some of our funds, not to exceed $20,000 for a top-of-the-line Autel we currently have an Autel 640T. We would like to go to the Autel Alpha, which is a top-of-the-line. It is a lot quick. It covers a larger area faster with longer flight time and quicker target identification. It works well for search, rescue, swift water, hazmat, and wildland firefighting. Comes with thermal capabilities as well. So That was my ask, is to reallocate that $20,000 for the drone, still putting us $30,000 under budget for the fiscal year.
Chief, what's the life expectancy of one of those things?
10 years.
10 years.
If you don't drop them or crash them, or, you know, that kind of thing. But we do have insurance policies on them for those types of reasons. We count them as an asset and put them on our insurance policies.
Clerk, with that emergency management funding, when we come in under budget, does that money roll back into the next year, or does that go back to, because I know that's
It goes, it's in your surplus that goes into the general fund. Part of the budget revisions we'll do at the end of July, and they've already been budgeted next year's funds, so.
but it does stay within the county?
Oh, absolutely, no.
Okay. That was my question, because I know that funding is, you know, it's a national security type
Yes.
funding.
Well, once it comes into the county's coffer, it stays there.
Okay.
And we will ask for reimbursement through the HMPG grant as well, so there's a chance that this money will actually be given back to us through the state. So anytime we make a large purchase in the emergency management department, we always go and request money back, such as the vehicle purchase you guys allotted for next fiscal year. We'll ask for that money back, just like this drone, and there's a very good chance that these are temporary use of funds that will be brought back to us for future budget requests.
All right, thank you, Chief. Gentlemen, any other questions or comments on this request?
I have a brief comment that's not the most fun to hear, but I promise you that I think we'll get through it. Chief, I'm leaning out here a little bit kind of outside of my comfort zone in supporting this request based on my trust in your judgment. I would just ask you that to the fullest extent possible, when we recognize these savings across the budget, that we look for opportunities to maintain them as best we can too, so that we can kind of forecast year on year as to where budget allocations can go. So I understand that we have room in the budget, and this is something that we can justify. I'll just ask you to, keep earning that trust, because, I know that there is a justification for this. I also would ask that to the fullest extent possible, we utilize the resources that are already available to us and, avoid duplication of expenses. I'm not saying that that's what this is, just understand that my first instinct in a request for a $20,000 drone is not to say, all right, no problem. It's to look at the person requesting and make sure that the justification is there. And like I said, I trust your judgment on this. I'll just ask that, going forward, we utilize the resources available to us as responsibly as possible, make this one last as long as possible, and as good for as many resources as possible, or as many uses as we can. But I'm in favor of it, but just know that my first instinct is, when we find the ability to save money, let's try that as well.
No, I fully agree with you on that. I think a lot of the reason the budget was not utilized the way it was intended was because the previous director and myself, he left in December, so then that left us a gap there, and we didn't utilize some of the purchases that he was planning on using. So for next year's budget, we created that budget, so we plan on utilizing the money the way that it was expected to be utilized. That's the only reason. We might not agree on exactly how the money should have been used for this fiscal year, which is why we're making the request for something that we think will work better to support our community, life-saving and saving assets, for the community. So.
Yeah, Chief, I was just going to add basically what you just said, but there was about a quarter of the fiscal year there where there wasn't a director. So that, and combined with some differences in where to spend the funds, might be why we saw a bigger number there than we had historically. But I still echo the request to use it as financially, economically, and for the best benefit as possible. So, gentlemen, do we have a motion for the approval for the purchase of the drone?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that the drone purchase requested for HSEM be approved. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passed.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Chief.
Has the clerk seen this yet? I have not. All right, go ahead and give it to him, and then. Okay, 10:45, we have a designation of county depositories for fiscal year 2025-26, FMB and the Bank of Romney.
And I'll sit back down so I can talk to the microphone. This is something that we are to do annually. Looking back on my own tenure, I don't think we have, except I will say, and the auditor has never cited us at all, we get a pledge agreement from each of the banks, our depository banks, pledging the amount of funds that are deposited there, pledging security on bonds on those funds that we deposit, the public's funds. In reviewing this stuff a little bit and some training we had in Canaan Valley, Code 761 indicates that annually the commission designates the depository banks. So I've prepared and have submitted to you guys electronically, you've seen it, a resolution in that regard. So on June 10, 2025, at a regularly scheduled Hampshire County Commission meeting, President Eglinger requested a motion to designate two local financial institutions, the Bank of Romney and FNB Bank, as county depositories for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2025 through June 30, 2026, as directed in code. So that said, I wanted to bring that to your attention this morning, get that on the record. We had a period of time that the Treasurer's Office came and spoke to us on Friday, and they indicated that there is a new legislative thing that's been approved that the depository banks in the state can join together and pool the funding that's used to pledge a security. They wouldn't have to bond at the same 102 to 110% level that they currently are required, in which we receive. They would be able, because they're backing each other up, they would be able to purchase funds at a bonding at a much lower 70–80% rate. I spoke to one of our local bank presidents who's very active in the state banking board of bankers, and he said it's something they've been working on for several years. It probably won't be actually effective until like February or something like that. And I had asked the question, should we continue getting our bonding done as normal? And both he and the Treasurer's Office agreed that it was a good idea to continue with that. So that'll be coming to you probably in our next meeting. But in the meantime, like I said, I would like to have you designate the depository banks.
Okay, gentlemen, as president, I would request a motion that we designate our depository banks of FNB and the Bank of Romney.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second for the depositories for FNB and the Bank of Romney. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passed.
At one point, there was a comment made sometime back randomly that county could get better interest rates by going out. The code does kind of direct you to work with local banking institutions within the county, so just throwing that out.
Makes sense. Hope I don't get fired for making that motion.
That's confident. Could be. Mr. President, I have one more unscheduled thing, and it's something that, the biggest thing on my table, but the kind of the least. It's the annual approval of the 2024 delinquent tax list. This was already published in May of 2025, but it's a housekeeping thing that annually the treasurer's office sends this over to get your approval of it. You don't even sign it, but I attest that you've approved it. So I'll present that. They're all three the same. Yeah. I don't know if it's easier to read electronically or in the newspaper. I tried to go through it, but it's a long list. And on that note, the delinquent tax sale is scheduled for tomorrow in this room at 9 a.m. So I'm not sure how many, by the end of the day, how many properties they'll end up having, but a lot of people come in at the last minute to pay their delinquent taxes and avoid that sale. You paid yours?
Okay, Commissioners, do I hear approval for the submitted delinquent tax list?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second that the delinquent tax list be approved and for a test signature by the clerk. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passed.
Sorry, I noticed you do have one more agenda item.
Okay, we will move on to our last regular agenda item, that being discussion and consideration of County Open Government Meetings Act policy. Commissioner Mance, I believe you had requested that there on Friday be added to the agenda, so I will give you the floor to speak on that first.
Thank you, President Englinger. Yeah, I sent out a resolution for you all to review and possibly consider today. The context of this is that over the last few months, I've had several people ask me about resources for, where our local officials can look to clarification on OGMA, so the Open Governmental Proceedings Act or Meetings Act. That's got a couple different titles. We're already required by state law to comply with the Open Meetings Act, and I think that, another request that came into me was that the county commission consider just making a policy kind of outlining, where we should point people towards with regards to, compliance. So I talked to Clerk Stride about this, and he gave me some solid pointers. And the Attorney General's office actually, by state code, is required to compile and publish information on an interpretation of the Open Governmental Meeting Act, and they do so through a booklet. It's the Open Meetings booklet. Yeah, it's the Open Meetings booklet. The last one that they did, I think, was in 2017. So the other thing that we should talk about in this resolution is that the Ethics Commission is also by state code required to receive and then publish advisory opinions for everyone that's covered by the Open Government Meetings Act. So if one of our board members or public officials has a question, they can actually ask it directly to the Ethics Commission, and then they'll publish an opinion. And the cool thing about that is that by state code, the Ethics Commission is required to, provide those opinions, but then they become defensible positions. So if, one of our folks relies on an opinion there, they actually have full civil immunity if they end up being wrong or being proven wrong in a court action later on. So it provides a layer of protection for everybody that relies on those opinions. So I drafted a resolution which essentially would set county policy. So at the Hampshire County level, saying that, hey, it's our policy to ensure that everybody that is subject to the Open Meetings Act in Hampshire County will comply with it. It's further our policy that everybody have access to and review the Open Meetings booklet and the applicable advisory opinions that are there. You wouldn't say that this is toothless, but really what it does is it just sets county policy at, we're going to make sure from the county level that we're in compliance, and then we're going to make sure that everybody in our team knows where the resources are to remain in compliance. And then we just said that, hey, it's, in addition to everything that's already covered by state code, it's now official county policy as well to make sure that every action is in compliance with the Open Government Meetings Act. So I know that that's a lot of speaking, and I'm happy to entertain any questions. It's really just hey, this is a snapshot from us at the county level, and here's what we can do to provide our team with the resources that everybody would need to make sure that they're in compliance.
Okay, gentlemen, clerk, commissioner, do you have any further questions? And I include the clerk because he obviously gets involved in that part of our dealings commonly as well. So questions, comments, gentlemen?
Thank you for the invitation to comment. I don't mean to intrude. There was a point early in my tenure where I got notice that this was something that needed to be done, and it came from the state level, and I don't remember. And then over time, which we did, we passed it around, and there was this booklet that Commissioner references and that you have. And several of the boards, oh, that was really helpful, thank you for sharing that. And then again, over time, it got forgotten. So from that standpoint alone, I appreciate the idea of the policy in that it kind of brings home and reiterates that this is an annual thing, and we can put it on a calendar and make sure that the various boards at least are presented with that booklet and where the website is that they can go further. I have had a couple of trainings, not only at the clerks conferences, but the Ethics Commission came out and did a training in Petersburg several years ago at Grant County Courthouse. They offer this stuff in the community, and that that's a good resource as well. So the Open Meetings Act is only fair to the public, and I usually call it Sunshine Law because that's just easiest for me, but it's there and it's important, and it's not hard to comply with. It's just a matter of being mindful of it. So I think these resources would be very helpful, and it's something that we can put into a calendar and make sure we're communicating to the various boards.
Yeah, I would concur, clerk. I appreciate that. And obviously the booklet is quite lengthy. Did my best to try to get through as much of that as I could. I looked at it a little bit before, but tried to update myself before today's meeting, but be lying to you if I said I was able to read the entirety of it. And so I think that having something like this could be extremely beneficial to our local board. Simplifies the process, puts us as a county commission, provides a position from our standpoint, and I appreciate Commissioner Mance preparing that resolution for us. Obviously, since I'm fairly new to this, to the commission, certainly I didn't know if there was anything in place prior to, and so thanks, clerk, for providing that information as well.
Yeah, I wanted to add, and Clerk touched on it, the commissioner trainings, gentlemen, which will obviously be new to both of you guys in August, but that the auditor puts on. I don't know whether last year, I don't think they had a special couple sessions on ethics, but in the past, they've went into that in depth. And I saw from the listserv there the other day that they are asking for suggestions. And while it does kind of tend to be a boring one and people don't always like it, it's at the same time a necessity, I kind of think. So, yeah, we might want to suggest that they put that back on there. And I know, and I think Clerk might have even just touched on this as well, but, you know, they offer to come to your county and give an in-depth training on all the aspects of opens meetings. So there's a route too, gentlemen, that we could consider that's coming up here later this summer. So I just wanted to add that. But I don't have anything against a policy for basically further clarification is what we're doing here. So.
Bottom line, you're equipping your boards with some information that keeps them out of trouble, you know, so.
Well, gentlemen, then I would move that the Hampshire County Commission adopt the resolution that is before you, entitled Resolution Establishing Open Meetings Compliance Policy, and then provide the same upon adoption, publicly published.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded on the consideration of the resolution for County Open Government Meeting Act policy. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passed. Okay, we have touched on all, or addressed all of our agenda items. I will, before we go into any other maintenance items that the clerk may have, I will open the floor for any public comment. I see our crowd has dwindled a little bit, so there's probably not any, but if anybody has any public comment at this time, feel free to come up to the microphone. And doesn't look like we have any, so clerk, do you have any other housekeeping items for us to consider?
We have our invoices to pay and some line item budget revisions as well as 2 official budget revisions. So on the line item budget revisions, the Treasurer's Office is requesting moving some funds between lines for $7,550. The Sheriff's Office, again, moving things to the tune of $1,662. Again, these are their approved budgets. The Circuit Clerk's Office requesting to move $6,000 around. And Planning Office requesting several revisions amounting to about $12,000 within their budget. $13,800 total move between group lines. And Sheriff Treasurers.
Clerk, I just had one question on the circuit clerk one. It says transfer 5,500, but then it has in parentheses 6,000. Is that, I just wanted to.
I think she wants 6,000 because she wants to move 4,000 to training and 2,000 to building and equipment, so I think the amount is 6,000.
Okay, so the 5,500 would just be a typo in her memo then.
I'll make a motion that we approve the budget revisions as submitted with the correction to ensure that the one presented from the circuit clerk is for $6,000 and not the $5,500 as spelled out.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the line item transfers as presented. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passed.
Next, we have official budget resolution number 5 to the general fund, which is budget number 1. And it's bringing $106,203 into the various categories in the budget, from state grants, federal grants, ambulance fees, miscellaneous revenues, recycling programs, and refunds and reimbursements. So various monies that have come in need to be allocated and reallocated to complete the year.
Make a motion that we approve the request for the revision to the approved budget and the resolution presented by the clerk as it relates to these line item adjustments.
I'm unfortunately going to have to abstain. I can't track this one down, so I'm sorry.
Well, I'm sorry, okay. Bethany just got them this morning, so maybe last evening. I don't
No
know.
worries.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll second the motion for the line item adjustments presented by the clerk's office with the resolution attached. All those in favor of the budget line item adjustments presented by the clerk, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed, and I'll note that Commissioner Mance has abstained as he does not have this paperwork in front of him, being off-site. Yeah.
This is budget revision number 3, the coal severance fund budget. Number 2 is our fund number. And that's bringing in, well, it's adjusting for $10,586 that are being increased in Parks and Rec.
Make a motion, we approve the request for the revision to the approved budget and the attached resolution as it relates to the coal severance funds, or coal severance tax.
And I'll second that motion. And Commissioner Mance, I assume you probably don't have this one either.
You know, it's probably somewhere. I'm sorting through about 20 attachments, so we better let me abstain here.
You had a lot of tabs.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded for the line item transfer pertaining to the coal severance tax in Parks and Rec, also with the attached resolution prepared by the clerk. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Last thing of business to look at, gentlemen, is the invoices, which you have been supplied a detailed list of those.
Make a motion that we approve the invoices as submitted since our last meeting.
Second.
Okay, it's been a motion and a second to approve the invoices since our last meeting. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passed. I think it's time to adjourn, gentlemen. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
It's moved and seconded that we adjourn. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Meeting adjourned.